All right, all right. I hope you enjoyed that little tune there. I just spent a little bit of time cutting that thing. Might be the intro for the NPL from here on out. Originally, it was supposed to be as a little bit of a joke, but after listening to it a couple times, might stick. Might stick. And you'll see why I may be looking at it as a little bit of a jokey topic to use. I decided to switch up the look on here. And by the way, depending on how you would like to listen to this, this does get uploaded onto YouTube, and I will also have it on Spotify so that if you were doing whatever, maybe you're working out trying to get as big as Brent Owens, or maybe you're driving around trying to get the kid to sleep like Jordan Bartlett, it gives you something to listen to. So Spotify, if you don't care about having little clips or whatever, and YouTube if you want to see me click and mess around a little bit. So last podcast went on for about 45 minutes. Pretty decent. We're going to see if maybe we are going to hit around the same range or not. There's a decent amount to talk about just within the last week or so since the last one I put out, the first one. As you can see, I rearranged the screen a little bit here so that you guys can get a better view on what I'm looking at, which will hopefully help you guys out as well. It was a good little recommendation in there from Play Action Jackson after he's seen it all. But other than that, decided to shrink the picture of me, which is kind of sad. But I guess you guys know what I look like, so it shouldn't be that bad. And then added in a little to-do list, aka what to talk about. We've got 5 subjects up here right now. We're going to start off with trades, drops, ads. I think we'll make that as a segment. Not really much to do on the ads part right now, and that will be something that'll be added in once our draft is done, which, by the way, as you can see, 28 days, 14 hours, 28 minutes, 27 seconds as we speak. Second little subject which popped up this week, which is going to be very interesting for our draft going forward, is the Rice is not as fast as Ruggs subject. As you can see as well in our league chat, we have a photo uploaded from Play Action Jackson to help show the faster players of the league on there. If I'm not wrong, I think, is Addison and Rice both on Denchworth? Either way. As well, we will be talking about the Pat Mahomes trade talks. We brought it up on the last podcast, and it seems like it maybe caught a little bit of attention. Not by every general manager. It's a big, big trade to go after. But it's in the eye of a couple, and a few teams do have the facilities to be able to take on that type of deal. As well, a little sneaky one, Stefon Diggs, his trade, and the effects from it. And I'll just say now for an early piece, my guesses were right there with a Bleacher reporter and his guesses as to how this trade was worked out. Just shows, man, Commish is on the ball and the puck and the football, soccer ball, baseball, whatever. We're on the ball. And then to end off, other rumors. Maybe a thing or two I might have heard. Maybe I want to share out there. Maybe I don't want to share. We'll see. So, we'll go into it here. Need for Speed. It's a good photo. It's funny. Good little chuckles here. Whatnot about Mr. Racer. Nice little piece put on there by me. Beautiful shot of Stefon Diggs in the uniform. And a nickname change for Mr. Rashee to Rashee Racing. Very smooth, very smooth. As you might notice as well while I scroll through here in the chat, this chat, for some reasons for Sleeper, the chat isn't as nice as what it is on mobile, but everything else is just as good, if not maybe a little bit better on PC, though. It's kind of a little wishy-washy on that. Great app. Glad we run off of it, but it's a funky little thing. So we'll go into it. Take a little peek here at the moves that happened within this past week. So we've seen Njigba in Paris. Mr. A to the Dizzo was resurrected once he found out that his notifications were off on his device. So don't worry if you did message him. He might have gotten back to you already. If not, shoot him one again. I'm sure he'll be there. He made the massive move of dropping Mr. Salvan Ahmed, 25-year-old back. 4 years already of experience, though. He had 2 okay games last year. I mean, 10.60, 10.90, 1 touchdown. Not bad, but it might be a guy that you're probably not going to see having the ball too much. He's behind a multitude of backs. Raheem Mostert went crazy last year. A-Chain's healthy now, and Jeff Wilson's also there. A couple oldies, but Ahmed's looking at least number 4 if they don't draft another RB. So he was dropped. Trade. We had the very active Marface squad get a hold of You Like That. It's a tough mission. You Like That is a multi-level, high-class general manager. He's finding himself in another finals as we speak. So he knows, though, that when an offer comes in, it's got to be worth a look at least. You're paying in this year. It's got to be worth it. We got reports that Mr. Bowens of Marface was the one to initially send this offer out. This was Brevin Jordan, the tight end out of Houston. He's around 23 years old or so. Again, another thing that I was kind of surprised about that I can't do on this is I actually click on the player profile when they're in the trade. Brevin Jordan, 23 years old. He's had some injury concerns over the past 2 years, but it's been mainly like bummed out shoulder here, little sore arm action over there. Nothing too crazy. He is behind Dalton Schultz at the time of the trade as tight end. And, he probably wasn't going to see a whole bunch of action this year, but tight ends, man, I love them. Secret weapon. If you can get a decent one, especially one with a big quarterback, which that's what Stroud is, you can be locked in for that extra 10, 15 more points than what somebody that doesn't have a good tight end would get. Everybody has a wide receiver and a running back that can put up 10 to 20. Not everybody has a tight end that can get to that 10 to 15 or more range. And that's what gives you an edge, a good tight end. So it's always interesting when you get to see one moved. Brevin Jordan was on my squad beforehand. I didn't really want to move him myself either, but this is now the second time he's been moved in our league just this offseason. He was not drafted last year. I did pick him off the waiver wire. But yeah, he was moved with a 2026 third, which for the most part doesn't mean shit. Third round picks value are not that crazy, but I mean, it also depends on the draft. This draft this year, third round pick probably isn't too bad. There's so many wide receivers that you can end up probably getting a little bit of a secret weapon in the end. So don't be too worried about your third rounders. If you're getting a little bit of an itch for these last inside the 30 days of moving it, don't be too crazy on it. There could be benefits to holding on to it. On the other end of that, those are what You Like That receives. Marface receives back Mr. J.K. Dobbins. So I'll get to have a talk with Mr. Owens beforehand, as I was interested as well in J.K. Dobbins. Now, our interests were different. Bowen stands at being a team that is in a fairly good position for running back, and one that I didn't put on the running back needy list, but as a GM that finds himself apparently thinking that they are. I was after Dobbins with the mindset that that would probably want to get rid of him because he is 25, has 2 torn ACLs, and has played 9 games combined in the past 2 years. Though he's efficient, that efficient number hasn't came in over 3 years. So it's a risk. He is also a free agent. He's not on a team yet. He still hasn't signed. And if it can be anything along the lines of a Cam Akers or, quite a few other running backs that get hurt. They struggle to find themselves on another team to really get a chance unless a starter gets hurt. So he could be going towards the Chargers, which would put him in the same spot as the massive man, Gus the Bus. Gus is older too. He's going to 29, but he did sign a 2-3-year deal. And the reason why he went over there and the reason why J.K. Dobbins is looking at going over that way is the offensive coordinator was the same one that was with Baltimore at the same time, as both of those players were there. So it would probably mean that they'd be in good favor of getting the ball a decent amount of times. Gamble, risk, reward. I think it's nice for you like that. After having a season like the last year, he ends up getting the 4th overall pick, if I remember correctly. He probably would have been a playoff team if it wasn't for the injuries. J.K. Dobbins, ACL. Chubb, the leg was bent inside out. Kirk Cousins, ACL as well. Justin Jefferson got mashed and mangled. He probably would have made it. So he is a high pick, and he's also gaining more youth here with this. So we will see how this team kind of evolves over the next year or so. I'm thinking a very big chance for him to be a massive contender. A lot of it also does evolve around Justin Jefferson and whether or not he has a true quarterback that's going to throw to him. You can be a great wide receiver, but if you don't have a quarterback, you ain't shit. So we will see how that works out for him. The other trade was myself, the good old Rual Eagle, and Injigbas in Paris. So this is probably an interesting one for some people when they see trades like this happen. I've done it now 2 or 3 times. And it comes down to, I guess, just knowing the other teams in the league. This was a trade that I also did do with the Bulldogs. I know, and that what I can tell from some squads is you may be pretty set. You don't really need to drop anybody. At least I wouldn't in your shoes. But you've got, let's say, 5 or 6 draft picks and only 3 taxi squad spots. It doesn't mean those rookies are going to hit this year. So maybe they need to be taxied for the entire season just to see if they will do anything within that season. If not, you're going to probably cut them by the next one. Therefore, you could probably use more draft capital for the next season. That's where Njigba's roster and draft picks looked interesting to me. They were sitting there with 5 draft picks, 2 in the second round. I just so happened to receive a second round pick from Mr. Bowens himself. So, going through it, I noticed that in a deal earlier this season, I actually gave my own second rounder to Mr. Paris. He's got too many and a very young team, so he's most likely not really cutting anybody. I named off maybe a player he probably could cut. I'm talking about tight end Hayden Hurst. For me, I've only got 1 pick this season. It would actually be beneficial for me to gain another one, knowing how higher up in age my squad is, and him being able to flex back a year and still keeping the same pick value because, as it won't show here, he's only giving out the 2.10. So it's not like it's like a high pick where it could show almost first round value. It's going to have some space to it. I still got to know what I'm doing. Pardon my squirt bottle. That's that for that trade there. Pre-cut, straightforward. Nothing too crazy, at least not like the most recent one. TDs and double Ds. Look at this stud. He is a team that still needs to figure out the direction that they're going. It's not a terrible trade. It's a buffer trade is what it kind of feels like. I haven't been able to have a conversation with TDs and double Ds, and I probably will maybe tomorrow. I did have a conversation with Bowens about it on his side. So I guess I'll go just benefits and maybe negatives for positive negatives for each side. So we'll start with Bowens again on this one. Zeke Elliott, late 20s running back, had a downward year, mainly a backup last year, but there are talks about him returning to Dallas. Maybe he gets a chance to be the starter there. If not, there's one guy that's kind of sneaking up that I've only mentioned to one other team, and that is the post June 1st cut of Mr. Alvin Kamara, who's also 28. I'll give you that, but seems a little fresher than old Zeke. Alvin Kamara will be a cap casualty cut after or around June 1st. He's going to cost the Saints $18 million. They will not keep him. They're going to cut him. They will have Kendre Miller, Jamal Williams. They'll be all right. There's strong rumors that the team that has not signed any free agents and has restructured Dak Prescott's contract could be looking at Alvin Kamara. If that's true, Zeke's stock goes down. Play action Jackson gains once again another running back. But we won't know until that day comes. Something to look at there. Running back needy teams needing a veteran. That's an interesting one for you. Gabe Davis, the official number 2 wide receiver of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I like him. His stats were very good for Buffalo. Trevor Lawrence is not Josh Allen, but if he can get him the ball, I think he can put up some pretty damn good points. He was a target for me for a little while. It was a move that made sense in a way for TDs because he was a little more heavier on the Jacksonville Jaguar offense. It's different if you have let's say, a QB to wide receiver, QB running back, wide receiver kind of thing, but having the first and second wide receiver, there's a big chance you're just not going to get that much points, maybe even weekly by one of those guys, so it's just not going to work out. Mac Jones, another Jacksonville piece. Bowen's very heavy on Jacksonville right now. If anything at all happens to Trevor Lawrence, that boy is in. And he's going to go in there with his Bill Belichick mentality, and he's going to fucking sling that ball. And you know what? He might actually do pretty good. It's been some bad New England teams for him. This might be a chance for him, but that's if T-Law and that beautiful hair get hurt. Moving over to the TD side. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, former first-round running back. He's been a favorite of mine for a little while. He made a hop skip onto the Ridwell Eagle for a little bit and made his way back out. He has potential. He's still young. I think he's still 24. he could find himself on another team after this year. He's not been hurt. It's just that he didn't have as much skill or explosiveness, I think, to really fit on that offense he's on now. Like, imagine him as like a mini Zeke in a way. Like, you could probably put him somewhere else and he's going to kill it, but he just wasn't working out there. Pacheco's a better guy. But it just so be that TDs and double Ds has Pacheco as well. So there you go, owning the 1-2 running back combo. Perfect for him. Trey Lance, giant question mark. I like him. There's a reason why the 49ers drafted him so high. He hasn't been given a full shot yet. 8 games. I think he deserves another chance. There's a possibility that comes someday in the future. He's still only 23. What happened in Dallas? No clue. Will it really happen anywhere? No idea. But to have that little piece right there, and if he did ever get a shot, and if he does kill it, that's that. That's what I like about Trey Lance. I want to keep him. Bones wanted him so bad, he traded him about a month later. Let's see how it is, man. Let's see. And then he gets a 26 second rounder. And this is where the question comes in again for old TDs and double Ds. What direction is that team going in? Here, to me, acquiring Clyde Edwards shows me that you're a team that is getting a little bit of youth in the running back, right? Shedding Zeke Elliott, which is good. You're getting rid of a older QB like Mac Jones for Trey Lance, which is good. And you're sacking a 25-year-old wide receiver, which, it can be iffy, but he's a number 2 for a second rounder for next year, which is pretty good. But that tells me right there, rebuild season. That tells me right there that we might find ourselves again in another interesting position for that draft. More rumors were coming in. Maserati Marv. Remember that. This guy's already changed his team name 2 times. He's got a chick squishing those little boobies together with a football. Maserati Marv. We may see a name change on the 4th of next month. Just a little under a month away. That's it for the Trades Drops ads. Again, it's a tough time for right now. I did just notice this though. Don't tell anybody, but I spelled dropes and not drops. What kind of production is this? Who's paying me? Nobody. All right. We're not going to skip. We want to go in the order of these that I put them on here. We're going to hit it quick. And I mean Corvette quick. And I mean Corvette quick into like 6 people and getting them hurt. We're going to Rashee Rice. Today I met with Dallas PD investigators regarding Saturday's accident. I take full responsibility for my part in this matter and will continue to cooperate with the necessary authorities. I sincerely apologize to everyone impacted in Saturday's accident. I'll say this. He didn't surrender himself right away. He fled the scene. He was caught with weed. 2 people got sent to the hospital. He didn't even mention his, apparently he was sorry for his team or teammates as well for disappointing them. I just knew I wanted to look for the first thing. And when I seen that he made a comment on it, I went, oh my God, I got to go to people.com and find where it was. Not necessarily, but I had to find out what exactly he said. And those were the points I brought that came to my mind. He might be in some pretty decent trouble. Denchworth is already kind of screwed on their wide receiver area. They're a young team. They could compete. But you need to be able to keep guys like Rashee Rice. I don't see any point in him moving him. He's not going to drop him. He's going to keep his ass. And if he gets sent to jail, then we'll just have to see how long, because it is apparently a felony as well in Texas, which is where this happened. And that could be jail time. Weed is not a good thing out there. This ain't Canada. Rashee Rice ain't Trudeau. He ain't driving a Toyota Corolla. This is a little more serious. So this will I'll kind of bounce it off of right there with that. It's going to be a wait and see. And thankfully for his squad, he's got that number, 08 and 09 in the first round. Set up pretty nice. If he has to take a wide receiver, best time to do it. Hell, he could take 2 if he wanted to. We'll have to see. I have heard some rumors. Possibility of him maybe moving a quarterback, and he ain't the only team. Now, moving on to bigger and better. Won't keep on smashing down old Denchworth there. This was an easy Google. Okay. Easy Google. There's a couple things here to look at. We've, again, had some talks about Patty Mahomes possibly moving to another team. If he is, he's moving to a team that's winning now or within the next 2 years. 3 years for me. He's got a killer of an arm, but he's relies so much on his mobility that it's not going to be like pocket passer, Tom Brady extraordinaire going to 45. But if Pat Mahomes could adjust his play style like that, it's going to save him many years. Until then, these are the points for me. Next September, he's turning 29. That is getting kind of crusty in NFL years. He's played a lot of seasons already. Look at this, 2017 to 2023. Now, I say that though, but look at those fucking stats, man. 103.5 rating, 63 INTs, and let's be it, the last 3 years has been his most. 219 touchdowns. With saying that, last year was also the least amount that he's had since his 3rd season in the NFL. Yards, 4,183. His 2nd lowest amount in yards. QB rating, 92.6. 2nd lowest that he's had in his career. He still had Kelsey. They did get Rashee Rice. Sky Moore and that other buffoon, Kadarius Toney, were terrible and did not help with these stats at all. So he still managed that, mainly relying on Kelsey, Pacheco, and race car Rashee. Even if he stayed at the stats he did last year, he still did very well. He's not a, in Dynasty, he's a number 1, number 2, 3 at the lowest quarterback. But he's not putting up those numbers with that. That's like a top 10 QB right there. So for TDs and double Ds, he's gonna have to sit back and really figure out what he wants to acquire in this conquest of looking to make a move, which is what we've heard, allegedly. He's not the Patty Mahomes from before. Look at that, 50 TDs, 12 interceptions, 38 TDs, 6 interceptions. He went 27-14, and he just lost his best wide receiver. Now, he did gain one. He did have Hollywood Brown show up, but he was going to aim to be challenging for number 1, and now you just lost your old number 1. possibly for a while. Maybe he didn't at all, but possibly for a while. He could sit, wait and see what happens on draft day, and make a decision afterwards. Or see what he could fandangle now. But I don't think too much value will change in between that. We all know what he's worth. This is a worth 2 first-rounders kind of guy and a prospect. This is a guy that's worth like 2 or 3 starters and a lower draft pick. This is a guy that's worth a lot. So, eyes on Patty Mahomes. Eyes on TDs and double Ds. Very interested to know where this motherfucker goes. This Kermit the Frog motherfucker, man. Oh, and as well, stats and facts if interested. His spouse is Brady Mahomes. She's annoying. And his siblings, Jackson Mahomes. He's a fucking loser. So you're going to have to take that in as well, that this will affect your locker room. The Kansas City Chiefs asked for them to both be away. Just know you will have to do the same thing for your dynasty locker room. Jackson Mahomes will not be allowed to TikTok in your locker room. League-wide rule. We're going to switch it over here. We are going to the Stefon Diggs room. When I first posted about that, and we can go back and take a little peek. This is my initial assumption. Very interesting. We'll see Dalton Kincaid, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir go up. Assume the boatload of talent that Dell, Schultz, Collins, Mixon, and Diggs will be affected in a stagnant or downward trend for some of them. Looking at increased passing offense, but only one ball to go around. And then I lied about when I was going to do this podcast, which, by the way, it's now 4:15 in the morning. What a tank. Top fantasy football winners and losers. The dynasty impact from the Stefon Diggs NFL trade. And I'm such a fucking Boy Scout that I went and found this right before doing this. So that's how you know I wasn't a little cheater. I'm just going to go through this and give you the winners and losers. Make it simple, make it cool. We're already 33 minutes in, baby. There's only so many laps that Barley can drive around the block. There's only so many times that Owens can clean those dishes. Tyler can't walk the poochie around every block either. You know, it's too much. Winner, Stefon Diggs. This is where I don't know if I would count him as a winner. Over his past 4 seasons in Buffalo, he's averaged over 100 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 9 touchdowns each of those seasons. If he does the same thing in that, he is a pure number 1 wide receiver, Pro Bowler, like bar none. But with that means that they are like 100% taking away from all 3 to 4 other options that are on the team. And I don't think they're doing that. I really don't. So we just wanted to kind of go through again and kind of just see the ups and downs on this. So you'll this is something that you guys would be able to search up as well and kind of get a full look at it. Right here is just kind of talking about, basically Diggs is being a little bitch. He's going on there talking about how Josh Allen stinks and how he's not going to be good without a star wide receiver like himself. But I think Allen should do okay. It's going to suck. I think he's going to take a little bit of a hit, though. Obviously the Bills are drafting a wide receiver, which, again, that'll be an interesting one for anybody when it comes to our draft day. So here's kind of what I was talking about here. about joining the crowded pass-catching corps that includes the Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz. Now, they don't talk about Joe Mixon and his pass-catching ability, but count him in there too. Now, they like to say that they aren't the talent that a healthy and motivated Diggs is. Emphasis on the healthy, double emphasis on the motivated. You're hoping this guy's coming in with that. He chose jersey number 1, so it makes you think like he's going to. Man, I hope this is going to sound all right. I was just sitting here for a second. I'm way too lazy to go up and close the window. Of course, the train's going by. How unprofessional. I don't even have soundproof walls in this bitch. All right. Another good point I liked on here. Talking about the Diggs manager in your league is unnerved by this move. He's a potential buy low candidate. If you have him rostered and one of your league mates want him, selling could net a big time haul for teams not in the 24 title hunt. Interesting. From what I was gathering, I don't think he's on the move anytime soon. It just so happens he's on last year's championship team. And I think he might be staying there. Now, moving into more territory for Josh Gosh. They're counting Josh Allen as a loser. And we'll read through this one together as some of the other ones here. And I'm guessing it is because of the stats that I talked about. So they're talking here about needing to kill it on the draft, which I guess is here not impossible. Most of these wide receivers are like 6'3", 6'1"-ish area. They're all killers. They're all going to do really good. I think it's like the must-have for them. I think it's because they had to let Gabe Davis go as well. Maybe if they knew they were doing both, maybe they wouldn't have. But they might also need to save some money. I mean, they've spent a lot on defense, but they cut a lot of dudes too. I haven't looked at the Buffalo Bills cap space, so I'm not 100% sure on it. But as of right now, number 1 wide receiver, Curtis Samuel or Khalil Shakir, both the dudes I said that are going to go up in stock. This writer here is saying that both these wide receivers basically stink, and they're not going to put any not any fear into opposing defensive coordinators. They're both on separate teams for our league. I have a feeling Shakir will probably have a heads up over Curtis Samuel, but Curtis Samuel's probably going to put in some pretty good numbers. Curtis Samuel's going to come in there and give you that Stevie Johnson, GOAT, by the way, or Lee Evans, GOAT kind of numbers. And look, Shakir might pop off, but I got to look at his periffs because I don't even know what his size is. A funny one here, they have the 28th pick, and they brought up 2 names that were just perfect for that. Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor. These were dudes back-to-back. 1, loser. 2, legendary. Mistakes can be easily made, and I think this is a good point for our league as well when it comes down to really kind of studying down, seeing who's available, what team they're being drafted to. And even then, that might not give you anything too special. Jalen Reagor, when he was drafted, went to the Eagles. He didn't do dog shit there. That's a team that does pass. So, we'll have to see. And again, I'll post up more mocks as well as we're going along, getting close to that. But that's for him. Winner, Kincaid, Curtis Samuel. They're both going to be killers on it. I think I like Kincaid better in this. I think Josh Allen's gonna just use him up like a Travis Kelce. That's the envision for that. Like they spent big on to get Kincaid. He likes him. He's already proven he likes him. Shakir did do well for the last 6 games of last year, but that was still with Diggs kind of around. I think Kincaid takes off. Out of all of them, that's going to be the guy. And don't forget about the running back room either. You got that little wimpy Cook back there. I think he might be able to go and gas pedal around a little bit. Samuel Ginn will do good, but, wide receiver 3 is what they're even saying on there. I think he's still going to do well, but Shakir, Kincaid, that's what it's going to be. Losers. Now, this is the bad part for the Bulldogs. He so happens to own all 3 of those players. Over the past couple weeks, the Bulldogs have been in conversation as to moving at least one of these players. And the newsbreaker is fine with sharing that name. Nico Collins was the name that was being talked about quite a bit, and is most likely still. His trade value will be affected because of this. And this is the thing when it comes down to Dynasty, is that even when you think you might have a leg up or some kind of positive for yourself, like he would have here. I mean, look at you're laughing. You got 3 great prospects, young passing team. All of a sudden they bring in a veteran runner. Now they bring in a Pro Bowler wide receiver. What just happened to all 3 of these guys? Stock hits. What you could have got before may look a little less now. Now, who would have known Stefon Diggs is going to the Texans? Nobody. But I'm curious as to what Nico Collins goes for. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's interested in this guy as well. Being a young team that he is, the possibility of being able to move Mr. Dalton Schultz for maybe a younger tight end on another team might be an interesting move to make. My opinion. 27, he ain't old. But if you want to free yourself of a jammed football team, and I mean jammed for 2 years, you don't know what state any of these guys are going to be in 2 years. Well, what I read on One Piece was that basically in that 2-year time frame, you're going to see they're going to have to pay Stroud by then. And at that time that they do, Diggs will be done his contract, and who knows where he's going to be. I mean, that's 33 years old. But yeah, I expect big things from the Bulldogs here over the next couple weeks. Whether it be before the draft, which probably would be in better looks for him than waiting until after or the start of the season. Now would be the time to make that move. You don't know what's going to happen in the draft, and you also don't know what's going to happen during the season with these players. This stuff right here, Collins led the team with 109 targets. That's not going to happen. Diggs was targeted 160 times. One ball, like I said, one ball. That's it. And then finally, winner, CJ Stroud. I've brought it up to a couple guys already. If we did a rookie draft last year, whoever got this guy was a fucking winner. Whoever got Bryce Young, you might as well kick yourself in the nuts. It's a tough go, but another threat going into our rookie draft. Do your research. Make sure to look at those mock drafts. They're everywhere. I've shared some sites. I can keep sharing them as well. Ask some questions. Talk to some of the other GMs. Get a feel from them. See what they're thinking. One bad draft sets you back. Could be a year or two. The guy that drafted Bryce Young last year, it's okay in ours, right? It was a startup. But if you're talking somebody that was a rookie drafting for Bryce Young, You just sacrificed a top first round pick for a quarterback. And then you're coming into this year with like 6 dudes that look like they could be drafted. Last year was only 2, and really only 1 good quarterback. It was basically a waste. So watch what you're doing out there. When it comes down to rumors, last piece on here, we're hitting that 45-minute mark again. I just want to talk about some names, like I said there. That was one that I brought up, was Nico Collins. Nico Collins was brought up. Interesting trade acquisition for somebody that needs a young wide receiver with a lot of potential. Was very highly ranked for Dynasty. It may be affected a little bit now, but shouldn't be affected for the long haul. So keep an eye out for him. Quarterbacks, there has been some talks on a couple, including from myself and other general managers, towards quarterback Bryce Young and Sam Howell. I would have included Trey Lance into this, but he has already been moved. So keep an eye out for both of them. As well, we're looking at, of course, TDs and double Ds. After very loud and proudly putting up Mr. Mahomes on the trade block, I've heard of at least 2 teams, maybe 3, that have spiked some bit of interest as of right now. But that's just right now. And again, getting closer to the draft is going to make it a little bit harder to make some moves. Unless you're a little more of the daredevil teams like myself or Owens, and then pull the trigger on just about whatever just to get your rocks off on a deal. And yeah, and that, as of right now, those would be my main pieces right now for any rumors on the board. Won't spill any secrets on details of what I have heard on what could happen between those and other parties or the players, but that's where we're at right now. So that's it for this one for this week. I'm sure we'll get some more interesting pieces going to the next one, and hope you all enjoyed again. And again, don't forget, we're on the YouTube, we're on the Spotify, and once again, I think maybe until he gets moved, maybe we'll just keep it. But enjoy the Patty Mahomes. I'll see you later, boys.